want to know things about your university.
Okay.
Of which you are a vice chancellor, I presume.
I'm the vice chancellor. I'm the man that has the responsibility for making it work. And it's an interesting concept. IMUNE is a private university, and it was the concept of one of the developers of biofeedback equipment in America and Europe, who 10 years ago saw the need to stop children screaming. But he also saw the need to have a good education system for people who use modern technology. Technology that wasn't X-ray or MRI, but technology that was more subtle, energetic medicine. And the importance of this has become clearer now, because around the world the authorities are now starting to regulate energetic medicine, technological medicine, and natural medicine. Perhaps driven by some commercial interests that we won't talk about here, but it's become very important that we set out a structure for education for technology that is as good as the education for other complementary therapies and natural therapies like homeopathy and acupuncture and naturopathy. So that's the first intention for you.
And what's the name of your university and where are you based?
The university is called the International Medical University of Natural Education. Its operating and commercial centre is in Europe, in England and the Isle of Man. And it's called international deliberately because device users and natural medicine and energetic medicine is worldwide. It's called medical because if you go back to the days of Hippocrates, medicine was how you live, what you eat. Medicine was the natural things. It's only now it's become very narrow. So we feel quite legitimate to use the word medical. University because it's about universal education. Natural because one of our focuses is also to preserve natural medicine. The old medicine back in the 1800s when there were real naturopaths and they used lifestyle and food and natural remedies. And now we have two things happening. We have technology coming up with new forms of subtle medicine that works and doesn't have side effects. It's very safe and very effective. And we have natural medicine disappearing, which is the other part that is very important. So we have two bedfellows, energetic technological medicine and very old natural medicine. And together they make a wonderful synergy.
And what are your aims right now?
Our focus for the last 2 years has been to develop an educational system for the new technology. And we started with one device that's an advanced biofeedback device, and we have constructed an educational structure that someone who has no medical background can start with. So we have anatomy and physiology and pathophysiology, pathology, but with a different emphasis. So rather than learn that that's a fingernail and that's a metacarpal and so on, we're more interested in the process of what happens rather than the names. So it's very much the process of how the body works well in health and how the process goes wrong and leads to a disease situation. We have education module called Biofeedback, which is about the principles of biofeedback, which is the foundation of this device. And we have modules in stress, the stress reaction syndrome, because biofeedback is about stress. And if you look at a lot of the association publications, they will say stress is 50%, 60% of the problem with diabetes, 50% behind degenerative conditions like cancer, behind cardiovascular diseases. So from stress comes a whole cascade of health deterioration. And then we want to make sure that people are able to work very safely in practice, so they understand the legalities of what they can do inside stress and biofeedback, how to be safe, and that they don't need to pretend to be a medical doctor to be very effective. Medical doctors are great, they just have the wrong tools. We have a module called Client Interaction Skills, which is designed to teach practitioners how to relate to clients, how to give clients back their power and understanding. It's an education for the client in how their body system works and how they can support its optimum functioning. And the biofeedback part is something to catalyze that return to health, to give them back their power. And then, of course, for each of the devices that we're involved with the education for, we have specific training in how to operate that device, or a syllabus for what they should know about operating it, and how to integrate it into application. Because lots of people see a fancy machine and they push buttons, but when their first client comes, they don't really have the understanding of how they can best use it and be simple about it too. So that's a syllabus system that's set out, and within that we more establish the structure than do the training. So we say to trainers, here is the syllabus, here are some modules you can use, and then we examine and accredit and monitor the trainers and the training. So it's like that makes it able to work universally with a central administration and control and auditing point.
And who are your students?
The students are mainly people who are buying devices at the moment.
What kind of devices?
At the moment it focuses on a biofeedback device known as the SCIO EPFX, but we have discussions with manufacturers of other devices as well who like this concept of education, who like the fact that IMUNE is also working very hard inside various countries of the world to make the educational system registered and to make a profession of advanced biofeedback as a vocation, similar to a homeopath. We have at the other end, because a lot of people who use the devices are also already trained. In Spain, for example, many medical doctors, in other countries as well. In England, not so many medical doctors, but homeopaths, acupuncturists, naturopaths. And they have a slightly different requirement. They have half the knowledge they need. They just need to know how to use the tool. But many medical doctors, particularly in Germany, have said, okay, we would like to do some research, when we would like a qualification for that research. So we've just finished constructing a system where they can do a small research study or a small dissertation and have an advanced certificate or diploma, and they can do an MPhil or a PhD. And the quality of the end result has to be as good as a traditional university one, but they are able to use the work that they do every day as their research. So it's a very efficient way of doing it. Mm-hmm. It's a good way of developing, of bringing in research information to validate the effectiveness of this type of medicine.
And what are your results in these several fields?
Our results are, there are something like 40 organizations worldwide that sell the particular device we've started with. 39 of those are actively involved in the immune process. So it's popular. In terms of the clinical research and the higher degrees, that's something we've just started with. It's a fairly major business building a university, and it sort of doesn't happen quite overnight, but we're getting there.
Do you want to add anything to what you said? The question is, should I asked you a particular question that would be interesting for the audience?
Yes, we've talked a lot about technological medicine, but not so much about natural medicine. And natural medicine is something within the power of anyone. And one of the parts of the training for anyone that does a technological training is also in natural medicine. And we have a module called Lifestyle 101, which goes through about 30 of the main areas where clients and patients can improve their health by their own simple actions. And lots of people just don't know that they shouldn't eat hamburgers and they shouldn't just drink Coca-Cola and coffee, and that sugar really isn't the best thing to have. So it's really simple things like that can make a big difference. And I know in my own practice, if I did nothing but make people's digestion better and balance their blood sugar, then they would improve significantly. But there are other things we want to do. There are some wonderful, very simple things in old-fashioned naturopathy that really help. And what's amazed me in naturopathy is that the operation of the body is so incredibly complicated, but what you have to do to get it back to health for 90% of people is so incredibly simple.
Could you give us an example?
Yes, there's a very old technique called a general body adjustment or naturopathic body adjustment, which is very simple, very gentle. It's very easy to learn, and it takes about half an hour, and it frees up all the tissue, it moves all the lymph, it helps to reset the autonomic nervous system. And we've actually done some monitoring on this, and we've seen changes in the neurotransmitters and changes in the endocrine production within an hour after doing that adjustment.
It's amazing.
It is. And it takes a little bit of practice, but it's incredibly simple for anyone that's done body work. And one of our objectives, and it's our next major conference in November in Cancun in Mexico, is actually about structure and function. And it will be the 4th international conference that we've run on trying to promote natural and energetic medicine, but also the science that's behind it. So I like the balance. Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to you.
Thanks to you for this
That's my
piece of
pleasure.
information.
Okay.
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 How much?